Hey there, neighbors and naysayers. May 26th, 2025. Happy Memorial Day. God bless the veterans and the farmers that feed us, as Trent Luce says. Going out today to go to the annual Memorial Day parade at Harrisville, Ohio, and ride the float with the Windy Ridge 4-H Club, as I've done for the last 30 or 40 years, other than I got the two boys to go with me, and have for the last couple years. But thank you to all the veterans and all those families whose veterans did not come home. I got a lot of things. I haven't posted a video in a while. I need to sit down and do that. But you know, we're in mass seed head now. You can see brome grass, you can see orchard grass, you can see rye, you can see fescue. But the reason I clicked the video on today, and the cows won't be here in forever. I'm actually standing next to the chicken. This is the juvenile chicken. Florida's pen. There's hens in here that are just starting to lay. If I can get my hand in there, I got a brand new egg. This is the first egg laid from one of these hens. I mean, we've got several other eggs. We had some hens that have been laying for a couple days. But the reason I clicked on today, maybe you can see it. I don't know if I can get down, but that is a step-in fence post. Of course, the chickens were here just now. I just moved them. And it is buried in what looks like a ½ inch, maybe an inch or more of soil. Now, you may say, well, I dropped it at some point, moving cows, something, it fell out, and I don't even think I had to dig it up because we're in the middle of the fence post. And I'll have to dig it up with a shovel, but the significant thing is here, we're growing soil. That is fabulous. Just it's a great visual to see. You know, I work in my day job in the surveying world where we survey things and we go back to benchmarks, solid benchmarks, concrete benchmarks. And we see that once in a while, sod grow over top. And actually today, I'll go down to my grandfather's grave in Harrisville and remove the sod that's grown in on the corners of the headstone, as I do almost every year, clean up the grave a little bit. But just to see in our field situation here that we're growing soil, and that's what we want to do. I remember reading Joel Salatin saying one time his dream is to have to replace the fence posts, not because they wore out, but because we grew enough soil that the fence was too short. And I thought that was an awesome goal. But to think that we've actually grown soil here instead of losing it, and there's so many people that are tilling up ground and losing soil and hitting that tolerable level every year of soil erosion, where we're actually growing soil. And I guess I have multiple thoughts today. Dad's back at the barn working on the round baler. He's already went over the disc mower, and then bought a new disc mower, and then went over the rake, and now he's onto the baler. And I just can't help but think he said something today about why they make it that complicated. And I said, well, we've made this all too complicated. Making hay has just become way too complicated and way too expensive for the average farmer to do it. And I don't know why we don't sit back and look at that. I mean, I don't know why we don't look at alternatives. And the number one alternative is we need to get our cow numbers in the right place that we can graze stockpiled grass through most of the winter, and we only need 30-40 days of hay. Now we get there, then that opens up options for us. We buy hay maybe instead of making it ourselves. Probably the most efficient thing would be to buy it at that point. Although I'll maintain it around here. I've seen some jokers trying to make dry hay this weekend, and it's not going to make, because my knee's wet just from bending down to show you all that fence post. How's hay going to dry laying on top of the ground? Alan Nation used to say that making quality hay east of the Mississippi was a joke, and it's God's honest truth. It's a joke. I don't know that I'd buy hay from the local yokels around here. I'd want to buy from somebody who actually knows what they're doing. But then there's other alternatives. You know, I've often thought, and this is a strange thought, and I've never seen anybody, well, I've seen one person put it in practice, not because I told them, but because they had the equipment anyway. They bought a cheap chopper and a cheap wagon, and all their hay was there close by, and they chopped their dry hay, mowed it with a whatever, raked it with a whatever, and chopped it with a chopper, blew it in the wagon dry, blew it in the barn dry, and that's what they fed. Now that doesn't feed in bale grazing like I do, and I'm standing in a bale spot right here that's grown in with grass. There are other alternatives though that we can do, but I guess the second thought to lead into that, and over the hill horizon here you can see one of our hay fields. That's another farm that we rent. I hope to someday be running cows on it, because, and this is the key here, we can't really call ourselves regenerative unless we're regenerating all the land that we use, and unfortunately that's free hay. We don't pay rent on that farm, so we make hay on it, as we've done for the last 20 years, and as somebody else did for 20 years prior to that. I've put some fertility back on it, but not much. Before that, my dad rented it, and it was in contour strips, and it grew corn. But we really need to we need to get over this hump of, we have dedicated hay fields and dedicated pasture fields. We need to have both, and we need to make hay when we've got extra forage. Like this field here could be made for hay. I don't need it anytime soon, and by the time it would grow back, we'd be ready to graze it with the cows. If we were feeding hay for 30 to 60 days in the winter around here and grazing stockpile the rest of it, we could afford to make 30 or 60 days worth of hay here on our farm and feed it back and rotate those fields yearly to a different field, so we weren't stealing that much fertility, and feed that hay right back on the same field that we took it off of, so that we brought the fertility right back. That's regenerative. That's what we need to be doing. That's where we need to be looking. Unfortunately, my hands are tied. There's some things I can and can't do. One is time. Two is making all the agreements to be able to graze it. Am I doing it yet? No, but am I going to do it? Yes. Someday, that's where we're going to be. We're going to be to where we're able to regenerate everything. If I go back to that picture back there where we grew soil, if we could do that on every hay field, on every crop field, imagine the place we would be. And I know we're feeding the world and all that bullshit, but we've got to be able to figure out how we're going to feed the next generation, and the only way we're going to do that is if we save our soil. So on Memorial Day, let's think about that as well. Let's think about what we're leaving for the future generations, and how much soil we're building, or whether we're tearing it down. With that, I'll say we'll see you next time.